wrote together. We did some demos. Um, and a lot of the songs ended up on the Sony Classical record,
Yeah.
Raging Child, Paolo. And then I started writing with Ramsey McLean. And I learned a lot about how to write a song from Ramsey. Ramsey was, if you remember the first Harry Connick records, like do you remember the early Harry?
Yeah,
Really?
I remember. Yeah, I know the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
All right. Ramsey wrote all of the lyrics and really gave Harry sort of an interesting twist. Um, Ramsey had been was nominated for an Academy Award. He wrote the theme song for Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh,
It's called A Wink and a Smile. And he's a fascinating person. Ramsey McLean is probably the most fascinating human being I have ever met. He's from New Orleans.
yeah.
And he's a unique creature. And he's one of my closest friends in the whole world. And, I speak to him every couple of weeks and we have a 3-hour conversation, and he's very funny and he's just a true character. But what I learned from him was just, first of all, keep notebooks everywhere, keep them everywhere in the house, and just, you get an idea, write it down, underline it, get another idea, write it down. And he said, this will save you. This is going to save you. You're gonna be stuck for an idea, and you'll find it in those notebooks. You just will. And my God, he was right. He was right. That saved me. And so I got into the habit of keeping notebooks. And God, yeah, I go back to, it's like, there it is. I wrote that 5 years ago, and there it is. That's exactly the line I'm looking for. And Ramsey had a different sensibility. He was from the jazz world. And I had nothing to do with that whatsoever. But I learned a lot about that world from him. He introduced me to, oh God, all kinds of people. Pharoah Sanders. He used to play Pharoah Sanders all the time. And he had done so many interesting things in his life. So I used to go down to New Orleans all the time. That was just wonderful. He lived right across from Tulane. Beautiful, beautiful old neighborhood. And I learned a lot. And then I just got confident. I started to be able to write by myself. And that's it. Writing with other people was a good way to start, and people that were nice to me, but would also just quickly say, no, I don't like that line. No, that's not good enough. I think you could do better than that. So that's the way I like to work. I don't want to waste time. You don't have to coddle me. And I just tell me what you think. Let's just, it's a more efficient way of working. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And why? I mean, as you were writing, why you went to Dark Side of the Moon? Doing somebody else instead of keeping following the stuff you were writing.
Couple of reasons why. The management that I signed to,
yeah,
and I both agreed that there were just too many girls with guitars out there, and that I should do something that would make me stand out a bit. And they said, what about doing a famous record? What about covering that? And I kept thinking, but what would I do? And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. What about Dark Side of the Moon? And we were all like, yeah, Dark Side of the Moon would. And the thing is that I had always adored that record. And for me, what gives that record added power for me as a singer is that so much of it spoke to all of the concerns that I had and still have about where humanity is going as a species. When Roger Waters wrote that record, it was the early 70s, and yet it speaks more to our time now than it ever did back then. I mean, for me, that record has a deeply spiritual center. And I feel as if in these crazed times we're going through that we are losing our center as humans are. And all this talk of AI and transhumanism and all of these things that they coo about at Davos, a lot of that really, really frightens me. And I feel like the best of us is going to be lost, and so I was having all those concerns, and Dark Side kind of speaks to that in so many ways. And so it gave me a vehicle, and I just poured myself into that. And I worked with two great producers, and they had a very clear musical vision for what they wanted on this record. So it's that record was a group effort, definitely a group effort. It's not a typical Mary Fahl record, but it's one I love to perform it live in front. Sometimes we'll do sets where I'll do a typical set of my music and some October project, then we'll come back for the second set and we'll just do Dark Side from start to finish. And it was that was a labor of love for me, and I'm still as passionate about that as I ever was. I love performing Dark Side of the Moon, and we made it our own. That is not a cover record. That we really did. I mean, we did it our way.
I think the album should have been called Dark Side of Humanity instead of
the Dark Side. No,
come on.
It's true. It's true.
A lot of people, I think, don't understand the lyrics. They don't know what they. I mean. Of course, it's Pink Floyd. They like Pink Floyd music, but I don't know. People have my I have listened to that album many times, on a regular stereo in 5.1 and surround. I have a lot of stuff. So it's a big difference, Mary. Yeah. It's like I don't know. In simple terms, eating in dairy McDonald's versus eating in a nice restaurant. It's a big difference, right? Going from cassette to vinyl, CDs, Blu-rays. It's the same music, but it's very, very different experience.
Well, that record also introduced me to the world of surround sound. I didn't have that. I don't have that technology in my house. And because I live in an old house, it's little room, like it's a lot of rooms, but not one big space where you can really sit in the middle. You have to sit in the middle. But because of when Mark, my producer, rediscovered the Bob Clearmountain surround mix, he discovered it about a year and a half ago. We thought it had been lost in a fire. He found it. We had it remastered. I didn't know what was the big deal about surround, and then Mark made me sit down and listen on his amazing system, and there's just no going back after that. It's just listening on another whole level. And so when it was time to do this record, we really wanted it in surround, and I will do some Atmos as well. So I'll probably 3 or 4 songs in Atmos, and I'll have Ronald Prent do that mix as well. And I think Ronald did a great job on the surround mix on this. So
totally, But so that was kind of produced or created in complete. The recording was in 2006, but what happened? It was not. You end up doing a self-release in 2011, so 5 years after that, right? So what happened with the V2 record?
I didn't even really do I didn't promote the record at all. I put it up for sale, and I didn't, that was that. I had been, and I, the album sold and things like that, but I didn't pour a lot of effort into doing it. And then when he found the surround mix, he said, we should release the Blu-ray of this. And I was like, I don't know, why bother? And so I sent the surround mix to a friend of mine. His name was Rick Pepe. And Rick is an audiophile, like just a crazed audiophile. And I said, Rick, you tell me, you listen to this and give me the honest truth. Don't sugarcoat it. And he called me back and he said, Mary, I'm not joking. This is the Hope Diamond of surround sound mixes. And as you know, Bob Clearmountain is one of the best engineers in the world. And he had done this mix for us as a favor. And, Bob Clearmountain, told us that he told Sir George Martin when they met at a convention that Bob felt this was his best mixing work since the work he did for Roxy Music's Avalon. So we had another producer whose name will not go mention, a good big producer, do this record. But the magic was gone. The magic wasn't there. We knew it. So we begged Bob to do this, and he did it. He did it for us, and did just a magnificent job. I mean, once you hear Dark Art version of Dark Side in surround, it's hard to go back.
Of course, I know.
It's hard to go. You can't go back. You can't. And in fact, I am going to get, so I can listen to the new record in surround. I'm going to get maybe that little Bose surround system. It's with the little, and we have a little guest house. I'll put it in the guest house, and because I have to hear these records again in surround. Of course. And, I have to.
I mean, it's not that expensive. I mean, you can.
It's not.
Okay,
no.
So we own a townhouse, right? So I have different floors, and in different floors I have different stairs, and you can get something very decent for $1,000 to $2,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need $10,000.
It's finding the place where you can sit right in the middle and enjoy it. Yeah. But in any case, it was it was just a revelation to me. You know.
And I think you end up winning the 2011 Immersive album.
No, that was it was in this. We released the Blu-ray, I believe,
right.
20 or 21, but it was the 2021 Immersive. Life and Surround named it Immersive Album of the Year, and then we won the Listener's Choice Award and all kinds of things. And that was another record that it's really been word of mouth among audiophiles. Yeah. You know, and it's mostly guys, I have to say. It's a rare woman that buys that record. But it's sort of the underground audiophile and it's worldwide. It's worldwide. And you can see them on the forums. You know, they have all those forums, but it was word of mouth, passed it around, and that album still sells every single week, which is very, very gratifying. After all this time and the heartbreak of having V2 fold before the record came out, it's again one of those spiritual lessons that, you know, when everything has its time, and what is yours will come to you eventually, and eventually it happened.
Mm. And then you put this together, which is an unbelievable album.
Oh, I love that record. Oh my God. Yeah, that was 2013. And we got the thing at the Mock Chunk Opera House, and they said, you know, if you want to record an album here, we have one of the state-of-the-art studios, Purple Audio, right in the building. And we are mic'd to do live albums. And I said, well, okay, why not? And then I was talking to my husband, and I said, you know, if we're going to make a live record, we should film it too. And I managed to, through different sources, find a team of people that worked for PBS, and they came and filmed it on their off hours. When you have something on PBS, you have to film the audience a certain way. They have best practices. You have to light the stage a certain way. You have to show the audience. And so I said, just film it just like you would as if it were a PBS special. And I thought, then I'll just market it to PBS. And that's what I did. And they picked it up. And here's the thing most people don't know. That's the first gig I ever played with Mark and the band. That was our first show. And it was, talk about biting off more than you can chew. But my gosh, it worked. We pulled it off. And I had one of my favorite mixers, Leonard Hospodor, mixed the record for me, because I love the way Leonard mixes my voice. And Mark and I sometimes disagree in terms of how we like mixes to sound.
Yeah.
But Leonard understands my voice, and he understands how to get this. I like the voice to sound big and chewy, or like a good red wine, like a good Chilean red, you know.
Right.
And he manages to get all the different tones in my voice, and I love the way I sound on that record. I just do. And it was a fun night. The audience, it was a packed house. The audience knew they were being filmed, so they just went crazy, and it's just a fun record. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
A very, very good album.
Yeah, and it's a retrospective of kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
My music, October Project, some covers.
Did you end up sending this to October Project friends?
No.
No. As a Christmas present? No, I'm joking.
No.
And then, so after that, you did well with that, and then this guy came together, right? This record.
Not what? Yep. And then I worked with John Lissauer. John was best known for working for years with Leonard Cohen. In fact, John produced the first Leonard's version of Hallelujah. Yeah. And John is great because he also writes for movies. John is very cinematic, and so we ended up working together on that record, and Leonard also was the mixer on that, and then after that record, I got a letter from Anne Rice out of the blue. You know, the Anne Rice Interview with the Vampire, Anne Rice.
Yeah.
And it was a fan letter. And she said, oh, you know, I just discovered you. And I guess one of her fans had said, oh, you know, October Project was very influenced by Anne Rice. And we had hoped when we were on Epic to get a song in the movie Interview with the Vampire, because, you know, it wasn't out of the question. Epic was trying to get our music into movies and TV and things like that. But we didn't get it, the gig. And but Anne ended up listening to all the stuff we did and to my music and Sony Classical stuff. And she just said, she gave me a really funny compliment. She said, I have found the voice I've always been looking for. Why, it's neither male nor female. It's perfectly androgynous. And I was like, thank you, I think. But she was wonderful to me. And I ended up writing with John. I ended up writing a song for the audiobook version of her book, The Wolves of Midwinter. And it went on the audiobook. And then Anne ended up dedicating a whole novel to me, Prince Lestat. And it was wonderful. And then later she asked me to start writing. She was shopping around for a TV deal. And so she asked me to start writing potential songs for a vampire series. And so John is great at he understands writing for television. He understands writing cues and writing, and we write so well together. We get the job done very, very quickly. And so it's typically when I work with John, this is what he understands. When I sing a song, when I write the lyric, and then when I'm singing it, I'm looking for particular touch points so I can write out a map, an emotional map for him. Like, this is where I want to be here. Then I want you to get a little spooky. Then I want to jump up and go somewhere completely unexpected where it explodes out. Then I want you to take it back. So I can give a map to him of where emotionally I am in that song. And he could just match that melodically, just like that. And because he's so used to working for film. So we wrote that song in a week for Anne Rice. And then we wrote several songs, and I don't know where they're going to end up. And Anne, of course, passed away this year, which was very, very sad. And so who knows where they ended up? I don't know. I know there is a series coming out in the fall based on Interview with the Vampire. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And then now we have your latest album, which is a masterpiece. So a lot of questions about you. So why that particular song? Why not, Johnny Mitchell, or other? I mean, why?
Well, here's the deal. First of all, this has been the year of Joni, so everybody and their brother is recording Joni Mitchell songs, and I have already covered Joni, both sides now, on Love and Gravity, and so I felt like, I've done my Joni, and I don't think anybody does Joni as well as Joni does Joni.
Correct.
And whenever I hear the covers, for the most part, I'd rather just go back and listen to Joni. If the same thing happened, sometimes that isn't the case with artists. When I think about Hallelujah, Jeff Buckley's version is just as good or better than Leonard Cohen's version of Hallelujah. But that isn't always the case. In the case of Joni, I mostly want to just hear her. And so I did both sides now. I did it my way. And I covered Leonard Cohen, too, on my Winter Songs and Carols. I did Winter Lady, which is one of my favorite Leonard songs. And so, Leonard Cohen was a huge influence. Joni was a huge influence. So I could have done a Sandy Denny song because Sandy was a huge influence, but I had already covered her on Winter Songs and Carols, my Christmas record. So these were, and I wanted to get a little more rock and roll because I like to give my band, especially Mark, who is such a good guitar player, I owed it to him to give him some stuff he could really rock out on. You know what I mean? He's a standout player, and Mark plays every instrument on that record except for drums, and he wrote all the string arrangements. He conducted the chamber ensemble. He does everything, and he does it all well, So, but I wanted to give him that opportunity to really do what he does so well, and so I went for a couple of things that were more upbeat and rockin', and I had to do songs that we both absolutely loved. We had to just adore these songs, and we do.
This is a very good album, and the quality of the recording and Pink Floyd and everything makes a big difference. So what's coming up? So are you going? I imagine
tour this record. We're gonna tour this. I have lots and lots of band shows coming up where it's the full band. I'm going to be in New York City on August 9th. I know it's New York on a Tuesday night in August, but
I'm going to be there.
You're going to be there? Oh my God.
Yeah, I bought a ticket. What's happened? So I have seen you a couple of times, but never with a band. I want to see the band experience.
Oh, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Oh gosh, and it's
I'm going to be there. Right?
Oh, that's great. I'm going to play, and I love playing with them. It's just because we can do things. It's pure fun for me. Those shows are just like a vacation for me. And so we'll be August 9th at City Winery, the Loft there in New York. And you can have dinner there, everybody. It's beautiful setting right on Pier 57 and on the West Side Highway. And then we do City Winery Boston at the end of the month. And we do the Sellersville Theater in Bucks County, PA. Yeah. And I'll be going up to Rochester in the fall. I'm going up to Plymouth, Mass in the fall, and Auburn, New York, and on. And we always do a couple of Christmas shows in New York and Sellersville Theater. And that's a mix of Christmas, but also, I'll do some of this as well. But I have to tell you, I love this album cover too, because it's exactly what I wanted. I love those old Francois. You remember Francois Hardy, French singer from the late 60s, early 70s. She was a fashion icon. And I said to my great graphic designer, I'm going to give you all these Francois Hardy album covers, and I want you to be inspired by that. Yeah. I want it to look grainy, and I want it to have that sort of colorful font of a Francois Hardy record. And boy, she deliver. It has a slightly vintage quality to it, which I really it's my favorite album cover of all time for me. Of anything I've ever done, that's my favorite album cover.
Yeah, and I like I like also the picture that you have inside when you were 14 years old. And,
I know that's me.
and another one, I don't know, you were probably 5 or, I don't know, 6.
No. I was older than that. I must have been about 12 in that picture.
Wow.
About 12
With
years
some record on the living room. Yeah.
With the records on the floor. Yes, exactly.
So final 2-3 questions. So you're going to be touring with this for, I suppose, a year or so.
Yeah, about a year. I'll give this 8 months to a year, and see how I do, and then it's time to make another record. And
what would you like to do if you have the opportunity? Forget money, budget, and
Ping. Who I'd love to work with? Like if I could just have anything in the world.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to mispronounce his name, so I'm sorry, but I've never heard anyone actually say his name.
Yeah.
But I discovered Gustavo Santaolalla.
Yeah, see.
No, I can't say it. Okay.
He's from Argentina. Yes,
he's from Argentina, but I discovered an album years ago called Ronroco. And Ronroco, it's a charango. And I played that record to death. I even bought a charango and learned how to play it because of that record. And then he went on, and I always felt like, well, I discovered him first. But then he went on to do the music for a bunch of different movies, a lot of different movies. And he's just so cinematic. And I would.
The way you do it's Santa Olaya.
Santaolalla. Okay.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah.
Santaolalla, because I just won't say his name because
so I very likely I'm going to be interviewing him next month. Actually.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I screamed.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I will put you in touch with him when I do.
Because that's honestly, if I oh my God.
He's a very nice person. Okay, so in the world,
like
right? In my world, I'm a computer scientist. There is a lot of crazy, good people. In music business, the same.
Yes.
A lot of good and bad people, but he's a very nice person, so he will reach out to you.
Well, if you just honestly,
very likely, I'm very serious. Very likely, I will. And because
there's another person too that I would love to work with. Have you ever heard of a Lebanese violinist? I mean, he's a violinist and so much more. Named Claude Chaloub. Have you ever heard of Claude?
No.
So he plays in a way that is, it's part Middle Eastern but part Western classical. But he just bends the notes in that Middle Eastern way. But he plays with so much passion, and he's gone on to do many other things. And but he's another person that I would love to collaborate with. So if you talk about like collaborations, I don't think so much of singing with other people, but I think of people composing for me. Or I did get a chance a couple of years ago. The in-house composer for the New Jersey Symphony was an October Project fan. And he had written this whole piece based on a Shakespeare play. And he said, I just didn't want a soprano. He said, I kept thinking, I want somebody that sounds like Mary Fahl. And so his wife said, well, why don't you just get Mary Fahl?
That's right. Yeah.
So he called me and I ended up doing it. And oh my gosh, it was the most fun to sing on stage with an orchestra.
Yeah.
And we played in these giant theaters, and the music was stunningly beautiful. It was, again, extremely cinematic, and oh my gosh, that was fun. And I kept thinking, God, boy, I'd love to do that again. And it would be fun to collaborate and have someone compose with me. And I'm good at writing lyrics when I have an assignment, give me a subject, give me a story, and I can write the lyric. I'm not so good at just writing about my life. I mean, everything you write is about you. You're always projecting your own self onto everything.
Yeah.
But I love having an assignment, like a book or a movie. I can immerse myself into the world of a book or a movie and and know what those characters are thinking. And so that's what I would love to do. So Gustavo, if you're out there, you would
Yeah, I was fine. Yeah,
I would feel like I died and gone to heaven if I could work with you at some point. And
I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy to happy to help out, Mary. Like I told you with the other project, the other stuff that I was sending you in Spanish, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that seriously now. Looking back at your life, I suppose I'm glad that you were able to conquer your fears. It's so, and I'm saying that for my own benefit as well. And it's so easy to give up when everything is
yeah,
go sideways, or a
yeah,
relationship, a marriage, a husband, or your parent die, whatever it is.
yeah.
Some people give up, some people don't, and I'm glad you did.
Well, there's something about there's a marvelous writer named Anthony Peake who's a friend of mine, and he wrote a book about sort of based on the Greek idea of the daimon, daimon, that it's sort of your higher self, or sort of maybe what would be called the holy guardian, or that muse, that thing inside you that guides your life and says, no, Mary, I'm going to drag you're not going to medical school. No. It's just that if you're willing to do the work, that the daemon shows up, and it's like you have to show up for the muses or they won't help you. And if you do, and if you have fortitude, they will take you to where you need to be. I truly believe that. I believe there are forces that oversee our life. I do. I know. I don't think it. I know it. And so,
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you?
See, with especially, for example, with Gustavo Santaolalla.
Olaya. Santaolalla.
Santaolalla.
Yeah.
Okay, like O'Malley, Olaya. And that charango is something that I've been in. In fact, I've written songs on the charango because it inspires me so much. And that's what would be, because I've always loved, for example, Mercedes Sosa had these amazing string players around her, guitar player, and the accompaniments are so beautiful. And whenever I listen to her, it's like, boy, would I love that. And he does that in a lot of his soundtracks and things like that. And so to have those, I've just always wanted to sing with those sounds. And so anyway, really, that's the person I would.
You have a lot to give, Mary. I mean, you have music for the next 30 years. So keep on working hard, do some introspection, read some poetry, go inside your dark places and keep on writing, because
I will. This has been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Well, this is, I'm here to listen. My interviews, Mary, are very different.
Yes.
Would be the same. If I was talking to Peter Gabriel or whatever, I'm not going to be talking about the hits. For me, it's very important to know the person behind the instrument, the lady behind the guitar, whatever, It's like a psychotherapy in a way. I'm the psychologist. I kind of point in you, talk about this, talk about that, but at the end, I wanna get to know you as a human being,
Yeah.
No, just the hits or this or that.
Yeah.
You have done well in your life, Mary. You have, conquer your fears. And,
I conquered my fear of playing by myself, which was terrifying, and writing, which was terrifying. And I was lucky that I met my husband. That was a gift from God. And that everything was easier after that. And I had a more well-rounded life after that. Before that, everything was just focus. And my whole life was getting deals, and there's more to life than that. And so I have a nice home life now. I have a happy home life, and I learned how to grow a garden, and my husband had a big garden. So we have a giant organic garden that we spend a lot of time in, and we grow our own vegetables, and which is always beautiful in the summer. I love that, because we have our own zucchini and beans, and it's just like nature renews itself. And we live in a very pretty place. We're overlooking the Delaware River. It's beautiful in the summer. And so I'm very, very fortunate in that way. and so I have a happy life now, and better late than never.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy for you. And if you ever come this way, as I told you before, you're welcome here. My wife is a very good cook.
I go down to DC quite often. Rich has a family in DC, so we're down there, and I have family down there as well. So yes,
and you're invited to come here for dinner. My wife is she's from Colombia. She's a very good cook. So
I'll take you up on that.
Oh, very good Colombian stuff that you never.
You can play me some. You can play me some Latin music from Latin America.
All right. Okay, Mary, it was very nice talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. We talked like a couple of hours now, and I know I wrote some notes and stuff that I need to do, and for you, and I will help you in any way I can.
Thank you.
You're a very, very nice, decent woman, so I'm very happy.
Thank you.
It was very nice talking to you.
Nice to talk with you too. Bye bye.